So Facebook, Twitter, Google execs, they have been asked to publicly testify before Congress in the investigation into Russian meddling of the 2016 presidential election. So will more scrutiny of tech companies shed any new light on the extent of Russian operatives who targeted voters? I want to bring in our guests. Tara Muller, spokesperson and senior policy advisor for the Counter Extremism Project and former CIA military analyst, also senior writer for Newsweek, Bill Powell, and former federal prosecutor Kendall Coffee. Kendall, let me begin with you. Tech giants that are going to potentially work with Congress, does that really strengthen Mueller's investigation and strengthen us as a society if they make some headway?
Well, I think it's vitally important. I mean, as we saw in this election, just how important social media is. And now we're seeing that there may have been a systematic, highly sophisticated foreign governments campaign in our social media. So I think what we'll see is whether through these hearings and otherwise, whether there can be reforms that the giants of the industry itself can implement, whether federal laws with respect to potential interference by foreign governments can be strengthened, and from the standpoint of Special Counsel Mueller, whether specific federal criminal laws were violated with the purchase of ads apparently by Russian operatives or foreign nationals.
So, Bill, when we think about Google now joining Twitter and Facebook in this widening investigation, when we think about Google, it's certainly a much larger company with its range of services. What kind of direction could a congressional investigation take?
Well, I think I agree with Kendall. I think the scrutiny is healthy, and I think everyone involved in this is obviously feeling their way because this is new territory, and so I think what the oversight committees want and justifiably are answers as to just how the range of intrusions using these social media sites, just how the extent to which the meddling occurred, the methods, the more granular detail that we can get about all of this will help us erect defenses before the next election occurs.
Tara, that's a big point right there, trying to put up a type of firewall to prevent any type of meddling from these huge American companies. When we think about Facebook or a Twitter or a Google, these places that were born in this country because of great enterprise and ideas and free speech, and then we think about it kind of being reversed against us to interfere in how we're going to have our democracy. The big revelation, though, is 200 accounts that were tied to the same Russian operatives who bought at least $150,000 worth of political ads on Facebook is now tied to Twitter. Is that really that big of a number? People are probably scratching their heads thinking, how could 200 tied accounts really make that big of an impact on the 2016 campaign and election?
Sure. Well, the question is that even the number? I mean, the bottom line here is whether you're looking at intrusion into the political process, whether you're looking at ad money that was potentially coming in from the Russians via fake accounts or bots, or whether you're looking at this for national security implications of influence campaigns and you know, sort of operations online. This is extremely important, and I think you're going to see pressure from the House, both the Intel Committee on the House side and Senate side, on these tech executives to sort of not only present the data that shows the evidence for where and what they were doing with regards to taking down these accounts, if they even were, but also what they're going to be doing going forward. It's possible that election laws were violated in terms of foreign governments buying campaign ads on behalf of trying to influence the election. That violates campaign regulations here in the United States. To date, there haven't been regulations about how that operates online. There haven't been checks and balances. And, you know, we see this happening not just with regards to intrusion on the elections, but we see pressure now on the tech companies also with what they're doing with regards to, you know, another area like terrorists operating on these platforms. I think you're going to see the tide starting to turn as more scrutiny gets put on companies like Facebook, Google, and Twitter. And, you know, in all fairness, I think these are new issues for the tech companies that they're trying to grapple with, and I think you're going to see they're going to have to start to focus more on this in order to prevent this from happening again in the next election. Well,
probably didn't even dream of the wild success that they would have or have to reverse engineer, thinking of how it could be used in a nefarious way. Tara, thanks so much. Bill, Kendall, thank you both. Appreciate it. And as we all have been following the bouncing ball of headlines,